Welcome! We are trying something new today, and we are going to play the Stanley Parable. I've wanted to play this for quite a while, but I've never gotten around to it. But I'm getting around to it now, so we're going to give this a shot and see what happens.
Do you want me to grab the cleanup for you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Stanley Yelnats.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Until...
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something
Stanley
that would
wasn't
forever
happy.
change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
What if I don't want to leave my office? What happens if I don't leave the office? Okay, crouch. Okay. I came out of my office.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Anywhere. Nobody around. I hate Mondays, it says. What kind of building is this?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I want the right.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
I'm a rebel.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Coffee. Why on such a low table?
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
You know I gotta go the other way.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Oh, you read that?
Yeah. Amazing. I was fired years ago.
I'm all for not following directions. Do not jump from the cargo lift. I'll just step right off.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Okay.
All of
Okay,
his
let's
co-workers were gone. What could it
cut
mean?
through this again.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first
yes.
open door on his left.
This room. Stanley did not take the open door on his left.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for... This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Who's she?
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
What if I unplug the phone? It won't let me unplug the phone. How do I pick up the phone?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside.
Wow.
Let me show you what's really going on here.
No, fuck you.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Wow.
A mannequin.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Wow, okay. You don't have to be a dick.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job.
Yo.
First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Are you mad because I went to the other direction?
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Press up to tell your kids a story. You're mean.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Each time I press one of these hopeful things, it gives me an attitude.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
The question, nothing.
Are you able to leave the room?
Not yet.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button.
Please die.
And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Please die, it says.
That got crazy.
All his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Okay.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
We'll go down the left hallway now, like he wants me to.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
No, Stanley did not.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
But it has a nice hum.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Doing sweet... What's FA mean?
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing?
Doing sweet fuck all.
Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
I'm defying you, narrator.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning. Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now.
You dead.
You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed in front of your screen. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Oh, I'm not stepping out, my guy. I want to see what you had to say next. Do. Is there anything to say?
I don't think it's going to say anything else. Please step out of the hallway.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you. You too? Unbelievable. You look the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish,
Oh,
fungus.
wow.
Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
You too, huh? Let's see if it say anything else or no. No, probably not.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to
Damn.
his boss's office.
You said to go upstairs, but there's an option to go down. Guess where Stanley's gonna go.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Nope.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up.
Stanley began screaming.
I have a boss, I have an office, I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real, I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Oh, everything went black.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Well, that's not normal. I killed Stanley again.
How could you kill Stanley?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, now I go up instead of down.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
Left
he entered
hallway.
the door on his left.
This hallway.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oh, wow. Executive bathroom. Money's for stealing, but not yours, of course. Say that's a lovely purse. Purse. Nothing smart to say about the bathroom there, bud? What the hell?
A poor panda bear.
Why are you shooting the panda in the face?
He has a family.
He has children! Not the panda babies. Panda mommy, where's panda daddy? Panda daddy got his face fucking blown off.
Daddy, wake up. Mommy, what is this red all over Daddy?
Daddy's sleeping in ketchup.
It's so dark.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input
Uh-oh.
the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Oh, wow. What is this building? I need to see this building on the outside. Up. Ah, push down. For once, a loading screen that isn't a death screen.
Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up.
Silly me.
Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just
can't wait to find out. I did it to mess with you, my guy. Uh-oh.
There's no strawberry sauce.
Oh, well then,
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow. I'm bolted to the edge of my seat. Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going
down again?
Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
Oh my god.
Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he?
Wait. Was it a corridor before? I want to push the button again. I'll keep going.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Well, that's too easy. But you know I can't help myself.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had... Nope, still on board with death?
Nope, still on board with death.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
One more time. Just to see what the voice says. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nope, he didn't say nothing. This building is insane.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Oh no, you're not satisfied with that.
Oh. Okay. Huh. I didn't die.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
No. No. No!
Farewell,
Huh?
Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing
It's a
him
woman voice
instantly.
now. No! Oh, okay.
What happened to the man voice?
I don't know, but this one came up and started describing how gruesomely I died, and then I fell through a wall. With the floor.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Farewell, Stanley.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Pacing on this open section was important to get right. Wait a minute. This is the path of the game. Because there's my office. I pass through this area. Zip through here. And I come to the two doors. Wait, this is the end menu? Oh my god, that is so cool. Solitaire. Employee database. Oh. Huh. What's in here? Well, this is very cool. Huh. What's this?
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Boom. I
Can you
turned
see?
myself off.
Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me.
I should
You
have
can still
loomed over
save
that.
those two. You can stop the program.
I could have made that the thumbnail.
Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game.
As
No,
long as you
no.
move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now, and it'll be your only true choice.
How'd you know I'm playing on a PlayStation? The other guy said
Choose it.
computer.
Don't let time choose for you. Don't let
This game is pretty fun, actually. I didn't think it'd be this long.
All of his co-workers
Oh,
were
there's so
gone.
much more to
What
it.
could it mean? Stanley decided
I know,
to
I'm
go
probably
the
gonna have to
meeting
do a
room.
part 2.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay. At some point, I
Yet
went
there was not a
against
single
him.
person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's
Okay.
office, Stanley was
the-
once again stunned
what was
to
it? It
discover
was
not an indication of
2,
any human life.
8,
What could it mean?
4,
Stanley
5.
wondered a lot. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Silly, in such a rush. It's actually playing music.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
This game, man. Okay. Now, where did I stray
Stanley
from
walked
here?
straight ahead through the large door that read Mind
Oh, that's right. I
Control
picked
Facility.
escape. I escaped life. That's what I did.
The lights
Push the
rose
button.
on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Do 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 do.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Two. 247.
What are you doing?
Trying to see if my camera was moving, but it wasn't. I'm 247 right there. No, it's just looking at my cabinets in my office. Okay, press this button.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No.
I guess I'm
He
accepting it
refused
blindly.
to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Blind to the world.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Oh, okay. Facility. This, you know what this reminds me of? That room in The Incredibles where Mr. Incredible finds that all the other heroes are dead.
Oh, yeah.
That's what this reminds me of.
And when at last he found the source of the...
What?
He didn't get to finish his sentence. I just hit off. We discovered the source
and
of...
a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
What if I hit on?
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine. Unshackled himself from someone
Did I,
else's
though?
command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but
There's
to
no way I got an actual happy
no
ending.
longer would anyone
Where's
tell
the
him where to
trick?
go, what to
It's
do.
like a big TV screen or something.
Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin.
Hold on, I want to see the
Feeling
building
of
behind me.
liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Did I really just get the good ending?
Beat the game.
I actually got the good ending. Now what happens if I hit on?
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
Wait, the words
When
changed.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I think the speech changed at the beginning there.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
2845.
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway.
I didn't even get to do anything. He's getting mad. Blah, blah, blah. We all know the face. Oh, I'm so glad I decided to stream this.
Slur.
I didn't mean to drink that loud.
No, I was just
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Freedom meant nothing.
This mind control facility was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life...
I need to do more games like this. This is fun.
Blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never...
Boom, on.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Control?
Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system.
Oh, no.
In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation, then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you
You're
exactly
gonna die
what
anyway.
happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp.
Okay, I passed
Say this,
4.
though,
Where's
this
4?
version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning
4.
it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will
And
save
5.
me. Why would you think that, Stanley?
Uh-oh.
That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is?
What if I just hit off?
Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first. So
Goodbye, employee 24427.
take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Oh, that was funny.
Oh man.
Was there another choice I could make?
I don't know.
Well, I guess with that, I'm just going to end it here. That was a lot of fun. I got to play more games like this. But until the next time, auf Wiedersehen.